Good evening, everyone. My name is Someshwar. I welcome all of you on behalf of Art of Living Organization to Yog Vaashishtha evening session. नमस्ते, मैं सोमेश्वर आप सभी का आर्ट ऑफ लिविंग संस्था की तरफ से योग वाशिष्ठ के सायंकाल के सत्र में स्वागत करता हूँ। रोज की तरह हम लोग आज की सत्र की शुरुआत भी 3 बार ओमकार का उच्चारण से करेंगे। अपने सारे जूम के पार्टिसिपेंट, अपने सारे यूट्यूब के व्यूअर्स और अपने सारे फेसबुक के व्यूअर्स, इन सभी का भी आज के इस सत्र में स्वागत है। टुडे वी आर ऑन डे 81। आज हम लोग 81वें सत्र में पहुंच चुके हैं। सो लेट अस ऑल क्लोज अवर आईज बाय चांट ओम 3 टाइम्स। आराम से बैठ जाएं, रीढ़ की हड्डी सीधी हो, गर्दन सीधी, शोल्डर्स रिलैक्स। Let's bring back our attention to our breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Take one more deep breath. And breathe out completely. Drop all your past and come back to the present moment. This present moment is new. Let us welcome this present moment by chanting Om 3 times. Breathe in. Let us awaken the divinity within. गुरु का आवाहन कर ले। आवाहनम पुनः पुनः। Let us express our gratitude towards the divinity, towards the master. गुरु वंदना कर ले। गुरुर् ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर् साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री श्री गुरवे नमः। Let us pray to the master, towards the divinity. Whatever the words that we speak, whatever the thoughts that come into our mind, whatever the actions that are happening, and the power of discrimination arising in our intellect, whatever the sanskar, the impression that might be getting created in our memory, and if still there is an iota of that I, me, let thy be and all this be inspired by the master alone. We, the people walking on the path of liberation, If we experience that freedom right now, right this moment, or if you have already experienced that and you are already free, let this remaining life, and if we have to come back here with a purpose to express our gratitude, to serve this world, or to spread this knowledge, let I be inspired by the Master alone. Pray like this. Feel the presence of the Master within and outside. And with a gentle smile on your face, you may open your eyes. धीरे धीरे अपनी प्यारी सी आंखें खोल सकते हो. Jai Gurudev. So let's continue with our session. We are now in chapter number 5, the sub chapter number 59, and we are looking at the story of these two friends, called Bhas and Vilas. So here yesterday also we have seen some portion of that, how it is very important for us to go ahead and break this vicious life cycle of death and again the birth, the samsara, what is called as samsara, the birth and death, This is all going on. And why it happens? It happens because of something called as the karma chakra. So just like there is a water life cycle, similar to that, there is this karma chakra is also vicious life cycle, is continuously going on based on the laws of karma. So what exactly happens when there is that spurant, that something comes up in the form of wanting to do something, that gives birth to your chitta, that man, and then that mind takes some sankalpa, start acting on it, and in that sankalpa itself, it's even take the birth also. It assumes the form of this body. Now once you take this body again to fulfill that vasana, that sankalpa, that feverishness, that activity of wanting to do that Ichha Shakti, it starts doing certain actions. While doing so, it gets entangled into all the five senses and its outward activity. And to fulfill that, it starts doing some action, and then the impressions of those actions, not necessarily the actions are done by you, even it could be done by somebody else. That there is object, it got scratched, you have observed that. The situation, the objects and the people, or the actions done by you, if they are forming an impression on your smriti, on your memory, that is what is called as the karma is now created. If there is no impression that you have just did that activity and there is no impression that is created, then you are not forming any karma. So what happens that once you do the karma, now to pay for that, either the karma is good or the karma is bad. Papa punya, anything of that sort, you will have to pay back according to the laws of karma. You will have to go through the consequences of that karma. So this is exactly what else you do actions, you do the karma happens, and then to reap the fruit of the karma, again you go through that, again you take the new birth, again you go to the death, again you take, and even during your life, you continue to fall in the same trap. That you pay for that, and again while paying, again you get trapped into this kama, krodha, lobha, mada, moha, matsara, means all these 6 distortions, anger, greed, pride, all these things, you get trapped into that, and then you experience the sorrow. And these are all the root causes of why that karma chakra, that vicious life cycle of death and birth, and actions and inaction, one continues to do, and then they never gets free of this. We have seen this n number of time in multiple stories, that how various people have got stuck into it, and once they have realized who they are, that self-awareness have dawned in them, they could get free from this. So this is what is been explained yesterday, that this is how this karma chakra is there, and Vaashishtha Muni is telling Rama that if you really want to get rid of this, you have to really get rid of this karma chakra, which is continuously keeping you stuck in that particular thing. Here to explain this, Vashishtha continues to tell a story of someone called as Bhas and Vilas. So he explained that on this Sahyadri Parvata, there is this ashram of Atri, and in that ashrama of Atri, there are two saints who are living their life, and they also gets the two new sons, not the three, those two tapasvis. They get the two new sons, and their names, one's name is Bhas and others one is Vilas. So they, while spending their time doing all their spending their childhood there, slowly and gradually they comes into the youth. So once they become youth, because of the vardhakya, because of the old age of their parents, they happens to pass it. Now they cry and all that. They have not yet got into knowledge, so they cry and express all that. And once that all happens, but during this time of whatever the time they have spent together, they become really, really good friends. But after this event, now they go on to their own tapacharya. They go on to do their own routine activities. They want to lead their life. So they separate and they start following their own thing. So like this, it all continues over a period of time. And one fine day, they again meets. And that is the point of time where the Vilas is now the way we when we meet our friend, the we inquire about it. How are you? Are you doing good or not? Whatever the things that we decided when we departed to walk on this path and do the tapacharya and do all these things, how is it that going? Are you continuing in that or not? Have you feel that ananda, that paramananda? Have you attained that or not? All these things he has. Are you really happy? Have you attained something in your life or not? Now, after listening to this Bhas start addressing Vilasa, first of all, he expresses his gratitude and his happiness that he has met his friend after such a long time, and he said that I'm really feeling happy being with you. But the question that you have asked, how am I and on that path? So that is where I would like to express myself. Even I am wondering about it. How do I really express about that? So he says that how one can be, how one can experience that thing unless and until they are stuck into this Janma and Mrityu. So if you are stuck into this chain of this birth and that, how one can be fine, how one can be happy about it. Then if one is not yet attained that self-realization, that self-knowledge, how can one experience that a thing in their life, that how one can be fine. So then he continues to address, like, unless and until someone who has not yet dissolved their mind, someone who has not yet got out of the vrittis, tendencies, cravings, which wanting to go outward, till then, one who have not dissolved this mind completely. So all these things, and till that point, the one who has not stopped feeling this sorrow and all these conditions in life, how can one say that they are really feeling good about it? This is how he keeps on explaining all the details to his friend. So he said that this entire Jagat is like a very big game of that Yoga Maya. So it is just like a very big disease, and there is a pandemic that comes and it takes over. Just like we are now experiencing this COVID, how it has almost 2 years have been passed and spending like this in pandemic. It is this Sansar Maya is just like that disease, just like that pandemic, and one gets entangled into it in various forms. No, the one who he has not known this knowledge, that is that realization. Till that point of time, this sansara means this vicious life cycle of them again and again troubles you, and it will keep on troubling you. This is what he is saying. And then once again, that all these things the Manusha, the human who gets entangled into doing this punya and punya karma, and then he will attain the heaven, and the one who is involved into doing the bad karma will experience the hell. And this again, that will continue to happen, no, that birth and death, that will continue to happen. So like this, it will always be continuing getting this. So unless and until the people gets entangled into that temporary happiness, which is just a temporary happiness, and they get hunted by these five senses and continue to go towards outward pleasure till that point of time, that getting that Atmajnana, that is self-realization, again will not be possible. So this is what is makes the person really, really weak in their life, and this is the real main root cause of all the misery that one has to go through, and that they go through it again, they keep doing it again, they go through it, and this just continues. In fact, the more deeper you get entangled into it, again it continues. So this is where this Bhas is continue to express himself to this Vilasa, his friend, that this entire universe, that one should not really get entangled into all these things and really start doing that self-inquiry. The one which really understands this nature of this world and how it is keeping us entangled into all these things, and really one has to come out of it. So like this, they continue to interact with each other, continue to share, and then it has been said that through this discussion, through this samvada, finally they get both of them realize the real knowledge. And after realizing this knowledge, that is where this story of Bhas Vilasa ends here. Now the Vashishtha Muni starts addressing that, look, what is it that one people do? People usually meet each other and they just start discussing about all the gossips here and there. And look at these two friends, even they came together. What is it that they are discussing? And through such a company of the good people, such Sadhusangati, no, it's a company of good people, see how one can get into the realization. This is exactly what happens to them. So the lesson learned here is that whenever we are there with our friends, or we are there in family, wherever you are, always make sure that you are always keeping yourself on this path, talking about it, listening about it. No, all the karmas, all of our action has to happen to move ahead on this particular path. That is what Vashishtha Muni guides over here. So now the things continues, that there are various things that are explained here, that what happens when one attain this, no, once they become mukta, what happens to such people? So such people, there are multiple aspects which are explained here, that once they get into this experience, this freedom, experience this liberation, now they start looking at the things just like an ultimate observer, no? So here Vashishtha Muni is telling Rama that in this jagat, in this sansar, in this universe, it is like this chitta is really the root cause, and without knowledge it is really, really difficult to get over this. No, there is no other method, there is no other way that one has to really get into this knowledge to make that power of discrimination, that viveka, that pragya arise in you, and then you kill this mind, you dissolve this mind. No, that is what is very, very important. Then unless and until one goes beyond this body consciousness, no, the one who says that I am this jiva, I'm this body, he has to go from this tool, is this body, the something which is inertia, something which is jad, to that sukshma, to that subtle, to that achetan. No? Unless until we move towards that and go even beyond that and establish yourself into the self, no, that's sthir. Unless until that, one cannot really experience this. And the one who has really realized this, how they deal with the situation or with the action, they just become an ultimate observer, and then they look at it. No? So definitely they also think that even if there is some pain at the level of body, no? Because of the old age, because of the, let's say there is an accident that happened, because of anything, that if there is a pain in this body, the one who are realized soul, still they will not, pain will be there, but the suffering will not be there. So they do not suffer out of it. They say it's okay. This body is now going through a pain. I am also observing that pain, but I am not suffering out of it. No, I'm not doing any that sorrow and that dukkha and that hue and cry. I'm not making out of it. That state is also they will achieve. So continue to like this. Let's say if he is also giving few more examples here. Let's say there is an wood, and that wood we see as a reflection in the water. Now, although if somebody is looking at that water, they will also see that reflection of the wood which is there in the water, or just like a mirror, you go and see your own reflection in the mirror. But now, does that mean that particular wood and that water is one? But the one who does not understand this difference, they will say, okay, there is this. Just by looking at the mirror also they will see. Or just like we can take an example of the movie also. The movie is running on the that cloth, that the projector is projecting that thing, and we just see it there. Now, if we just get completely submerged into it and just forget for some point of time that you are watching a movie, then how do you feel? You become so one with the character, and whatever is happening with them, you feel one with them. Many times it happens with households. When you are watching the serials, you suddenly start assuming you are that hero. You suddenly start assuming you are that heroine which is playing that good role there. No? So that happens there. So now we get entangled into it. Even we see if it is a dream also, in the dream also it happens that, okay, now you suddenly seen a tiger, and now just looking at the tiger, you are started running now. And that fear which you can really experience, that if you just get awake from the dream, right, you will still fear that you are running, and you will still fear that fear which you were actually observing the dream. So how that has an impact on that? But how long it can last? It can last only till when you become aware about this. The one who is not aware, they will continue to submerge into that drishya, that scenery, and they will see that they have become that, and they will continue to pay the consequences in the form of dukkha, in the consequences in the form of sorrow. So that is what is Vashishtha Muni is now step by step explaining Rama, that see, we have to really understand this, that that particular water which is just holding the reflection of the wood, in reality the wood is different and the water is different. And even if you take that stick or that wood and then attack on the water, does what it will matter to the water? No, it will just spread for some time, again it will come back, it doesn't matter. So similarly, this body consciousness and the one which is Atma, the one which is Chaitanya, Param, Brahma, Shiva, Ishwar, whatever we call, that although because of that bhavana, that comes up Jiva bhavana and the Atma bhavana, and this comes closure, it appears like this, that they have come without not realizing the Jiva, because thinks that it is one, and then they experience the sorrow. Now again, the one more thing is explained here, that is this Anasakti, means that is the root cause of someone getting this caught up, the jiva getting caught up into bondage. So this is explained in detail over here. Vashishtha is telling all this thing. Because of this itself, people start feeling they're bonded. They're bonded by this body. They're limited by this body. Whatever the tarka, that logic which is there, that is also limited in nature. So they feel they have only limited capacity. Unless they go to the subtle, unless they go to the self-knowledge realization, they do not see that infinite possibilities of their own life. That is what has been explained here. Now it is also explained here, it is because of the chitta. This chitta itself assumes the karta bhav, means I am the doership. And because of that, it assumes that karta bhav, the doership, again it invites all the sukha and dukkha, the good and bad. They start discriminating. and this is like this, I should do this, I should not do this, I like this, I do not like this. All this Veda Vritti, all this discrimination that comes into picture, it is purely because the chitta is playing all this role, and it starts assuming that I am the doer, I am doing this. No, the things are happening, it says I am the doer, I am doing this. So because of this, again one gets into this karma karta bhav, and then once they get entangled into this doership, we know what all the problems that it brings in their life, which we have already seen a number of times. So here Vashishtha Muni is saying this, Rama, this bhavana of kartritva bhavana and bhoktritva bhavana, one really have to really drop. If there is some machine that is doing work, do we really say that machine is doing work? No. So similar to that, the one who is operating that machine says that was. So similarly, it happens with this body also. So what happens, that your body is doing some work and the mind says, okay, I am the doer, I am the doer. In reality, the things are just happening just like that. You are doing it, and then he says, I am the doer, I am the. That is how one more example this thing. And Vashishtha Muni says, I have given you all lot many such examples also how one can do not get go towards that self-realization, that knowledge, and get stuck into this body consciousness only. So one really has to go over this and really gets into something called as Asansakti, means that asakti which is there, which mostly people get stuck into this asakti and get entangled into that. One has to really make themselves free from this asakti. Now to explain this very beautifully, it is explained here something called as Sangha. We have usually, whenever we go to the advanced course or listening to Gurudev's talk or Ashtavakra Gita, and we listen to something called as, he always say that Asngoham, Asngoham, Puna, Puna. We have heard this. So that is that thing where the Sangh comes into picture, and that is where the Asangha comes into picture. That is where that Asakti comes into picture. That is where that Asansakti comes into picture. Now let us understand this, how Vashishtha Muni explaining it. So here Rama asked this, by listening to all this thing, he asked this question that, Bhagwan, you have already told me all these things, kindly explain me that what is this Sangha? No? What is this Sangha is called as? And then how it becomes the root cause for the bondage for the people. And once we attain that moksha, how it becomes the, once we have dropped this, how it can become the root cause of attaining the moksha. So this Sangha, what is it that, kindly tell me which are all the solutions which are available to this to make it possible for me. So here Vashishtha Muni start addressing him that, Rama, what exactly happens? See, there are two things. There is something called as Deha, means this body, and there is something called as Dehi. Dehi means the one who stays in this body. Who stays in this body is the Atma. So Atma self is called as Dehi, and the one, this body, is called as Dehi. Now he explained that what happens because of that, although they are actually totally having different swabhavas, different nature, despite of that, as they are staying together, this Dehi, what it does is that Atma Bhavana assumes the Jiva Bhavana, means it assumes the body consciousness here, and as it assumes the body consciousness, it gets entangled into, it feels separate from itself, that is Chaitanya, that self is, and it gets on the other inertia's levels, like it starts assuming itself as the ahankara, the ego. It then again start assuming itself as the smriti, the buddhi, or the mind, no? And then going into this more grassroots level, it assumes itself as the body. So because of that, whatever the activities performed by these five senses of going outward, no, that is what is happening with your Chaitanya, is getting Sangha. It is being with this, all the other states, all other levels of your existence. It gets one to it, and it gets Sangha with it. It becomes merged one to it. That is what is called as Sangha. So now being with that, it appears that it has become one with them. So this is called as Sangha. So this tendency of that Chaitanya going outward, becoming the Jiva Bhavana, forgetting the real who he is or she is. It gets entangled into it. This is called as Sangha. Now, if you really go to your own self, then you have to again and again, you have to and this Sangha of being associated with this also becomes the root cause of the asaktis. The asaktis which are created, that you want this, I want this is mine. No, all these asaktis and ahankara, it is also created because of all this thing, that your self is now assuming it's Sangha with all these five senses, and it has to get out of it. So how to get out of it is, that is where say that unless and until opposite of this Sangha, if I say that entire world is that Atma Swarupa, means that the entire world everywhere is that Shiva Chaitanya consciousness is there, and then once I do that, what is it that I will drop? That what is that asakti I will drop? Having this an asakti, what is that I can enter into it? So and what is that ichha also I will do? What is it that asakti? What is the ichha, that desires that will come? And these things automatically will drop. Having this state of your mind is called as asanga sthiti, means feeling detached from this jiva, feeling detached from this body consciousness, feeling detached from this body, feeling detached from this separateness, feeling of separateness, ahankara. No, something which is different than the asanga sthiti, that is in explained as asanga sthiti. And then once experience that asanga sthiti, then automatically I, you, etc., all these things, and this mithya means this iluju vishaya sukha. Vishaya sukha means all these five senses and his tendencies to go outward to get that temporary pleasure. Automatically, if it is there or not there, all these things will automatically dissolve. Thinking like this will make you anasakti. Thinking like this make you anasakti means that asakti will not be there about anything in doing. So all your actions will happen just like as a kriya. There will not be any karma that is happening. Only the actions will be there. The impression of the action, the fruits of the actions will automatically get drops. And this sthiti, this stage of your is called as asakti. You are free from that. And this is what is Gurudev also refers to as many times as Asngoham. And how do you have to do that? No, not only while sitting in a meditation or listening to Gurudev talk. Every moment of your life, you have to retrieve yourself. Asngoham. That I am not this doer. These things are happening. Let it happen. Let not it create any impressions on me. Let it not create any karma on me. Asangoham, punaha punaha. And that is where Vaashishtha Muni says that this is the worth thing doing, that whatever this karma is there, this asang sakti is there. No, this is the real rasayana, means the real solution, is the real that sutra which is worth doing research on, chikitsa, worth doing. You do this, no, this mind which gets entangled into all these things, you ponder upon this. No? So that is where Vaashishtha Muni tells me. So with that note, I'll take a pause. This thing will continue even tomorrow also. There's a lot that is being said. There's a lot that needs to be covered. So we'll continue the story of Bhas and Vilas and the contemplation and the learnings, takeaways, which Vaashishtha is telling Rama, and we are also going through it. So we'll continue those takeaways even tomorrow also. For today, I'd like to take a pause. I'd like to hand over this session to you. If you have any questions, you are welcome to ask the same. If you would like to express yourself, you can unmute yourself and can also express. Over to you all. Jai Gurudev. The unmute option is being made available. You can unmute yourself and then you can express yourself. आप अपने आप ही खुद ही अनम्यूट करके बात कर सकते हैं. चैट का भी यूज यहाँ पे आप कर सकते हैं. Over to you all. Jai Gurudev.
Yeah, so good evening, Jai Gurudev to all of you. And it was a very beautiful session today explaining us how to go ahead with the self-knowledge and different other examples which Someshwarji has given us. So that was really very beautiful. My takeaway is mm, it's like until we attain the self-knowledge, we shall return again and again to this plane of birth and death. That is the cycle. That, the chain that we are going around in this birth and death. So how do we come out? It is that when we attain the self-knowledge. And then it is saying, okay, the cravings destroy the wisdom. Those cravings which we have, they destroy your wisdom. And when you're lost in the sensual, all these senses, the life ebbs away faster and faster. So, they say, you don't come here with a time or anything. You just always come here with your, the breaths. So the minute you use your breath very fast in anger, in, sensual other things, and in worrying and anxiety. So when you use your breath very fast, what happens? It ebbs away your life. That is the way it is. So that's why when we do pranayams and the different pranayams and the different the breaths we saw, upon all those breaths that we saw. So it is all controlling your breath and taking fully, which gives you that enlargement, after going in and coming out. So taking it deeply helps you in this, right? And then you can live longer. Yeah. So then Vashish says, oh Rama, I tell you that there is no other way than self-knowledge for cutting as this under the bondage and for crossing this ocean of illusion. And then what happens when you are done? You merge yourself and you become enlightened person. And this ocean of sorrow then becomes like a little puddle to you. The children, they make a puddle of, pouring water and mud and all, and they, start splashing themselves. And you must have seen that surf ad also, ye daag bahut achhe hai. So that comes up, it's like that. But that is when you become the enlightened person. So that ocean of sorrow which is there everywhere, it's all of them are going through that, but that just becomes a little puddle for you. So each wave, when you become so still, so established in yourself, that each wave when it comes, it doesn't hurt you. Just like as now we had that example, that even if you put a stick in the water, or there is a big mountain, so even if that falls into the ocean, water is not at all, disturbed or hurt, or anything happens to the water, nor it happens to the rock. Both are okay, like that. So that is what it is. He views the body as a spectator, looks as a distant crowd. You become the witness. Just like that day Gurudev said, okay, when you just stand there, let the river of the events pass by and you be the witness. Just go on saying what all things have been going on in your life, but you be the witness. That is, you be firmly established into your self. So then he is not affected by the pains or sorrows or anything in the body that is subjected to. And the existence of the body does not diminish the omnipresence of the self any more than the waves diminish the fullness of the ocean. Now see, this is so beautifully said, the existence of the body do not diminish the omnipresence, even though this body is there. But then just like the waves do not diminish the fullness of the ocean. It's exactly like that. Yeah. So that is what we have to really experience and come up to that level. And just as the last point, there are many more conditionings which we can see, but these conditionings, again, they are connected with your mind. The minute a condition comes, your mind comes up. So every time you have to take yourself beyond that conditioning, beyond that, all those things which are there in your memory, or anything which comes up gives you a bondage. So we have to keep on seeing that. And that was very nicely. And again, at the end, when we have this, you become a Sangh. I could recall a small example of a coconut. I have been hearing that right from the childhood. I should never understand that, but it's all seeded in. So just as a coconut, when you see the coconut, if it is, not that ripe, so what happens? The water, the kernel, and everything is all a mix in that, right? And as it goes on ripening, drying it, ultimately what happens? The kernel inside, it's so dried up, it just comes out very easily. Exactly like that. That is asang. When you are asang means you are detached from everything. Asang. You become detached automatically from your body, from your mind, from your conditionings, all whatever is there within. And anasakta. Anasakt means not attached anymore. And then it is Asngoham. So you become so natural that just happens. You keep on flowing, keep on going ahead without stucking into anything, coming out of your birth and death cycle, which is there, and being liberated. So it is a very beautiful one. And still, of course, tomorrow, some more insight will be there, and we will be going through that also. So thank you, Someshwarji, for letting me express myself, and for the beautiful points that you have given us today. It is really going to help us a lot, at least me. Thank you very much. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev Sangeeta ji, thank you so much for contributing. Is there anything else? Anybody want to say something? Unmute. You can unmute yourself and you can express yourself. If you have any questions, you are welcome to ask that also. If not, then we'll take a pause here. आज के सत्र को हम यहीं पे समापन करते हैं, पुनः एक बार कल मिलने के लिए। जय गुरुदेव।